Well, hello there, my friend. It's me, Stu. And listen, if you are an entrepreneur, chances are you have had those moments when you have wanted to do more, you've wanted to be more, you've wanted to achieve more, but for whatever reason, you've been spinning your wheels and feeling stuck. Now, it wasn't too long ago, just over a month and a bit ago, where I was having one of those moments. Now, I rarely get in this headspace where I'm spinning and I'm not clear about my next steps, but I was definitely in this headspace about a month and a half ago. And here's why. With everything that's been happening with the whole, coronavirus and the COVID and the whole situation and being quarantined, there was all kinds of thoughts that were being shared with me in regards to whether or not we should have moved forward with our tribe promotion. Now, this is a big deal for us in our business. Once a year, we do this, our tribe promotion. And the question was, should we move forward with this? And if so, should we even move it up? And we had serious conversation. In fact, our whole team was on standby. And before we made the final decision upon around that, I said, I need some headspace and I need to make a couple phone calls. One of those phone calls I made to one of my best and dearest friends who has the ability to be able to help separate you from the situation and help guide you to get clarity around what is in fact keeping you stuck and how to navigate through that to be able to get clarity on what your next steps are and to make the right strategic decisions. And in this case, when I was speaking to my dear friend, and his name is James Wedmore, I'm going to bring him on in here in just a second. When I was speaking to him, one of the things that he said to me was, he said, he never told me that I should do this or I should do that. He said, Stu, look, dude, I'm going to support you regardless, whether you want to do it now, whether you want to do it when you had been, scheduled to do it for an entire year, whether you want to do it later. He said, doesn't matter. He said, I'm going to support you regardless. But he said to me something that I will never forget, and I will always forever be grateful to him for it. He said, Stu, as long as I've known you, I've never known you to make a strategic decision out of fear. He said, so I don't know, if you're contemplating making a major strategic decision because of fear of the whole coronavirus and the COVID situation. He said, but as long as I've known you, I've never known you to make a decision from that place. And it was one of those moments where it was just like, boom, flash of clarity. And that flash of clarity, I instantly knew what my next step was. And so I quickly went back to the team. I said, we're not making any major or drastic changes. We're staying the course. We've been working toward this for the entire year. The momentum is building. We're staying the course. In fact, oh, thanks. Do you want to come say hi?
Isn't that means school computer?
No.
Well, then what is? Because you guys.
This hashtag working from home here with the kids. No, this is the new one. Here, do you want to come say hi? Well, okay, there you go. Quick, you got to say hi because otherwise people see me just talking to emptiness over there.
Hi.
Okay, all right.
So which one is our computer?
We'll talk about that after, okay? All right, so bottom line is that James helped me navigate a really, really important decision. And ultimately, and Amy, Marla, can you please? Thank you. Close the door. Whew. But he helped me navigate a really important decision at a really important time, whereby he didn't tell me what to do or how to do it, but he talked me through how to navigate that anxiety, those feelings, those thoughts that I was having that were going to dramatically influence my ability to be able to move forward or not. And I'm grateful to him for that because the tribe promotion went on to be our most successful promotion. And yet literally 2 weeks prior, I was in a state of flux about what to do. And so what I am excited about here today is that if you are an entrepreneur who, you know that you are meant for so much more, but for whatever reason, something is holding you back. You are stuck. You can't pinpoint it. You can't identify what it is, but you know that if you get to the other side of this, things are going to happen so much faster and easier. You're going to perform at a higher level. If that's you, I want you to stay tight, hang tight, because we are going to talk with several entrepreneurs who are stuck in a variety of different areas, and we're going to help them navigate that situation. And more importantly, we're going to help you do the same. Okay, so with that, let me bring on Mr. James Wedmore. James, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, man. How are you doing? I'm doing well.
Good. So when I made that phone call to you, what was going through your mind in terms of, we've been great friends for a long time, and I'm coming to you in a state of, panic. What was going through your mind as you were helping me navigate that?
Do you want to know the honest answer?
Yeah.
I knew that the decision that you were considering was going to be one of the dumbest decisions you ever made. But I also knew that if I, like you pointed out, that if I told you that and I gave you advice and told you what to do, I'd probably lower the potential of you actually doing that. And so, one of the things about what a great coach or great mentor will do is they'll never give advice. And really, as most of us here, in some way, as a membership site owner, you are that coach and you are that mentor. And why we want to avoid advice giving as much as possible is as simple as this. How many times have you given great advice to the people you care about in your lives and they did nothing with it? They did the opposite. We see that time and time again. And what it really is understanding a very deep, powerful truth that everyone has the answers already within them. And all we're really doing is asking better questions to our clients, to our members, than they are asking themselves, and that's all I did with Stu is I asked him a better question. It says, what do you think is going to happen if you operate from fear? Right. And he knew. So when he learned that, he gained that, he figured that out, not me. You heard it in his story. And then so he gained that wisdom as his own decision, not mine. I just kind of guided a perspective through a question or two, and he was able to see that himself. And that's the opportunity we all have. So I think the biggest thing is saying, so yeah, I mean, I knew. And because look, we can sit here now on the other side of it, right? Hindsight's 2020. And I can ask Stu, can you imagine where you'd be differently if you hadn't have stayed the course? You know what I mean? And that's such an important place to start is every day as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a membership site owner, how many decisions are you guys making on a daily basis? And there's concepts of willpower and decision fatigue. But when we're looking at Stu's example, you're one decision away. It really can come down to as little as that, right? One decision away from breakdown or breakthrough. And so many of us we're making decisions out of fear, or even not making a decision at all, which, by the way, because I don't know what to do, so I won't do anything. That's still the decision. It's a decision to do nothing, right? So, that's if I'm being honest, that's what was going through my mind, but I wasn't going to say that to you because then it was going to be a right or wrong thing. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just saying, I know best, and here's what you should do. And no one knows best but you. And that's the truth. It's no one knows best but you. And the same goes for your clients and your members. And if we can transcend just being this, I know best ego advice giver to, facilitating a breakthrough. We call it engineering the epiphany. That's what I was doing. I was engineering the epiphany. Then think about the lasting effect that you can have. Because there's that whole phrase of you teach a man or a woman, or you give a man or woman a fish, you feed them for a day. You teach them to fish, you feed them for life. So what we're doing is, because Stu said the words, he said, that will stay with me forever. So when you begin to teach them to fish, or rather teach them how to think, you feed them almost quite literally for life, right? And so that's what we all want to be doing if we want to be thought leaders tomorrow. I just got to say, my last thing too is I just appreciate you sharing this story, because I never expected or asked or needed you to, obviously, because that was something behind closed doors. You know what I mean? That was a friend coming to a friend and just let's get real and let's talk something. And you have a lot of people out here today that are, I got it all together and no problems here, business as usual. And the reality is all of us are just as human. Maybe we've just been doing this a little bit longer, so we have a little bit more experience. under our belt. We're a little further along on the journey, but we're still human. We have our fears, we have our emotions, we have our thoughts, and, you know, and they catch us up every day.
Well,
thank you for being real and sharing that, you know?
Well, it's the reality of what happens. I think that it doesn't matter what level of success you get to. There's all kinds of things that we have to navigate on a regular, continuous basis. You know, our mutual friend, Barry, one of the things that she always says is new level, new devil. And so we always think that when we get to a certain level of success, then all of our problems and challenges will disappear.
Yeah.
No. It's just a new set of problems and challenges appear.
Walt Disney lied to us. There is no happily ever after.
Yeah.
It's just new challenge, new problem to work through.
And I think the thing to realize is that, like, we become better equipped to be able to navigate and manage those challenges. And that's why, for me, like, in that moment before our team, we had discussed about moving everything up and making that decision. I knew I just needed a little bit of space. That's come from experience. Like, anytime you're about to make a major decision, give yourself a little bit of space between, that decision. And that's exactly what I did, and reached out to you and our other mutual friend, Amy. And that gave me the clarity I needed to move forward. And one of the things that you just talked about, and then we're going to bring up some of our guests, and that is that, like, you talked about the importance of decisions and how they can compound over time. And in fact, this morning I was talking about this with our, new Tribe 2020 class. And I was I was talking to a woman, her name's Diana, who is helping kids with anxiety. And she was saying, like, how do I talk to parents about this? And I said, oh my gosh. And I said, how do you not talk to parents about this? I said, because imagine what is going to happen with the long-term ripple effect of being able to help kids navigate their anxiety. Now, and this is what this is the diagram from this morning. So I'm going to share it because it's super relevant to what you just shared, James. In the beginning, in the early years, there's probably not that much difference between somebody who is dealing with managing anxiety as a kid and somebody who's good, somebody who's not good and somebody who's good at managing anxiety. But over time, somebody who's good starts making better and better decisions. And as a result, they start experiencing more and more success in business and in life. And so but the opposite is also true. If someone stays stuck forever, they're never going to see the kind of progress that they're capable of. And I think more than anything, this is why I'm passionate about what we are sharing here, James, because when we can learn to navigate those moments, then we can have those breakthroughs that allow us to continue to grow and get to the next level and the next level and the next level of success, no matter what that means to you.
And I want to say something too about that graph, because as you're, applying that universally to entrepreneurs, I actually think it's not fully accurate, because we tend to think that, well, if I just stay the same and do the same I've been doing, my results will stay the same. And I like to actually challenge and say, I think it begins to get worse.
Yeah, well, that's
like you had it going kind of straight. Well, yeah, it's going down a little.
Yeah, come on now.
A straight line or not? But yeah,
my graph's not accurate.
Like, it's, for example, if someone's like, well, here's how much I weigh today, and I eat a pint of ice cream every night, I'm going to stay the same weight. I'm not going to lose weight. It's like, no, you're going to gain more weight, right? And so to me, yeah, it's a very simplistic thing to say, like, and it's an extreme, like you're growing or dying, but in a business sense, we want to look at it like that. It's not about just like, how do I maintain or survive? But it's like, we're either doing stuff to grow and thrive, or the opposite of that, which is heading on a decline.
So let's dig into some real world applications of this. We've got a number of guests who last minute jumped on with us, and I'm going to bring Tiffany on here first.
Yeah, Tiffany.
Woo!
Tiffany,
hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. So give everybody a quick little background. Like, who are you? Who do you serve?
Yeah, so I'm Tiffany. I have two completely different kind of businesses that half serve salon owners, specifically on team and culture. And then I have like this side empowerment project that I've just been spinning circles with for a year and a half, that just reiterating the fact that each of us is the deliberate creator of our own life.
And so, okay, so I'm gonna get some more background info. So have you started that second business?
Yeah, I've beta tested a couple programs called Reservations with Yourself. That was a membership model, and it delivered content weekly on specifically mindset, making yourself priority, slowing down, and just dealing with like self-worth and prioritizing yourself.
And so did you do that you said in the form of a membership?
Yeah.
And what was that called?
Reservations with Yourself.
Got it.
So what's the big thing you've been stuck with?
Well, for so long, I think since I've been like trying to do the online thing, I've had them as two completely separate programs. And just recently, with like all the COVID stuff, I started like a pop-up Facebook group to help like salon owners just navigating the effects of the coronavirus. And that was kind of the first time I actually merged the two in the sense of not only teaching like business strategy, but also just like empowerment strategy to business owners. And I know it's like such an obvious aha moment, but I think that's the first time all of my stuff has come together. I guess my question that I've been kind of struggling with since I've now been in like Stu's program is trying to balance the content in a monthly membership that also not only talks about some of the business strategies, but like the personal strategies as well. And do I like 1 month focus on one and the other month focus on the other? The problem that I had when I previously was doing Reservations with Yourself, that even though it was weekly content, like the content on my end wasn't too heavy to deliver anything, but the transformation and the reaction we were getting was the first time it was too slow. Where most of the feedback from my online programs have been, it's too much information too fast. So then I just went completely the opposite way. So I think that I've just been way complicating it and stuck on the sense of overthinking how much is too fast, how much is too slow, how do we do the business and the like empowerment side together.
Yeah, and just to get clarification really quickly, you mentioned that when you created the pop-up group during this time, you said both worlds, it all came together. Can you what does that mean?
Well, I feel like in the past when I've been speaking to salon owners, I only really talk business and very little kind of like personal development strategy. And I think what was so important with the pop-up group is that it was uncharted territory. So it wasn't so much like, this is how we need to do our Excel sheet better. These are the numbers that we track. It's like, how are we showing up for our communities and making sure that our team feels heard, but also like, this is way overwhelming. Your kids are now at home. You don't have, money coming in. How do you balance that? But we still want to take care of our communities and stuff. So I think it was the first time that I actually spoke of it all because there was so much different things going on.
And just to make sure I'm hearing you right, what am I hearing that the personal development, the empowerment stuff is being shared with the salon owners that helps them personally and professionally, but will help them in their business?
100%. Yeah.
I'm just going to add a note there that, and I think Stu has a very similar perspective on this. We've got a lot of people, and I know I attract a lot of people that want to talk about these things, personal empowerment, spiritual growth, personal growth and all that stuff. And, it's a very interesting thing. I won't spend too much time here, but when you have a group that you're already working with, like salon owners, it's very easy to focus on an offer, whether it's a membership or what have you, that is a very specific, tangible transformation or outcome. And so much of the things that I have to imagine you're teaching around personal empowerment are part of the process that will allow for that. What I mean? In other words, some of the things like with Reservations with Yourself that you were talking about, that what you do was actually describing very much the process and not what they want. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? And so when you start to say, like, because we do this with like Business by Design, it's like, I actually asked our customers recently on a live call, like, how many of you join because you want to grow your business? That was the number one reason. You want more customers. And they said, yes. And I said, and how many of you have gotten more than just that?
Mm-hmm.
And they all said that, right? So I just wanted to point out that I think that's a very good indicator and a very good green light go that you've merged the two, that you're speaking to a specific avatar with a specific transformation that is around, hey, whether it's grow your business or, you know, something around that. But now your process, the way in which you're helping them, where you're tackling these things, is the content that you deliver is just going to help them get there faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question, Tiffany. What has held you back from merging these two in the past? Thanks, man.
I mean, I guess I just always felt like I've had to choose one or the other.
And why is that? Why did you feel that?
I mean, it's the same thing I think I've done in my life. Either my personal life is like growing, and my business is taking a back burner. Like, I think it's been a hard life, or not a hard life, a hard balance for me to find in my own life. And so I think that was directly reflective of my programs too.
And isn't that kind of interesting that like you're trying to find that balance with how you give it to them?
Yeah.
So you are overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But we at least know that it should be a blend of both.
Yeah.
Giving them the practical business and, I mean, what's the word we can use? Just for the other content, for the empowerment stuff. What do you call that? The personal empowerment stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it can be mindset. I mean, it can be, I mean, I think it's just in general, just reiterating the fact that they can have a balance in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you weren't overcomplicating it and you could trust yourself as the person that knows what's the right way to deliver both sides of this, what could it look like in order to make it really simple and be effective for as many people? Now, we know you're not going to please everybody. In other words, no matter how fast or how slow you make it, you're going to make someone's going to say the opposite. But if you did, you know, trust yourself and trust that you knew how to create that balance with your members, what could it look like if it were really simple?
I mean, I think that if I just focused on one action step or one process to change in their business, as like a tangible, you know, strategy, template, process, something that we break down with them, that during the course of the month, I think that you just reiterate the fact of why that helps you, the salon owner, in your personal life. So I might not even really have to teach it so much as, oh, it's important that, you know, we have team meetings because then our team can handle more when we're not present.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Do they overcomplicate their business at all?
Yeah. Or I think the problem that most of them run into, they undercomplicate it and they're not running it like a business.
Right. Okay. I definitely get that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's the same as complicate or simplify. It's just they don't treat it like a business. They're just ignoring certain parts, like, oh, I don't need to market myself or worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is every month you have this like specific topic of like, here's this thing you're going to do or take action on or implement. That's this tangible thing that's going to help you grow your business or treat it like a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then where would the personal development mindset stuff come in?
Well, I guess that's like what I've been struggling with. So I don't know if it's like, okay, here's your one tangible piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a flip side, showing that the benefit of doing it is allowing you more freedom in your business, more time freedom or money freedom. Or if it could be one business exercise and one.
Oh, so what you're struggling with, hold on, sorry. So what you're struggling with is how to communicate the benefit of it?
Know how much content to deliver, I guess.
I think she's struggling with how to weave the two together.
Is that it?
Yeah. So like in a pop-up group, it's been okay to weave it together because it's like we're talking about this business thing, this thing. And then, hey, let's check in. How are you doing? Or how are you feeling? Or today, like take the afternoon off. Today, don't forget to put your laundry in the dryer.
Okay, so great. So let's just go get real specific. So you've given one action item. So let's say this is for June, right? So June, You're going to talk about setting up team meetings. Is that what I heard?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, great. So now give me something specific, and Stu and I will help you weave it in. What's something on the mindset side we talk about in the same month?
Well, I guess that was my question. Do I just go ahead and talk about why the benefit of a team meeting or like the benefit of a schedule?
Well, yes, but that talking about benefit, that's not mindset. Talking about the benefit of those things. And I know Stu will talk about this, but every piece of content you're sharing, you're still selling in there. You need to sit there and tell them why they need to stop everything they're doing and watch this month's training, because this is how it's going to benefit you. But that's not mindset, right? So you want to add this other piece that's going to help them grow as a leader, evolve as a person, develop mental, emotional maturity. So what would be a specific topic that you would share that month as well?
Can it be something completely different, or does it have to be related to the same business?
I don't know.
I think that's where I'm held up at, because I'm trying to like mirror it into what was related to the business.
Can I give you a thought, Tiffany?
Yeah.
Because you're going through the tribe experience, it's most familiar right now. So I'm going to use it as a way to help, give you some ideas, perhaps. But when in the tribe experience, did I ever at one point ever talk about like mindset and personal development, coming into the tribe? No. It was always about like generating more recurring revenue, right? Like, and if I were to look at the parallel, it's similar to what you're doing with your business owners, your salon business owners, to help them grow their salons.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that's interesting is I, similar to you and similar to James, believe so strongly that we can't grow our business if we don't also grow ourselves personally, right?
Yeah.
So part of that, like when I think about like mapping out the content, I'm not so much in my situation, this may be different from yours, so that's why I'm just sharing it. But in my situation, I'm not so much looking at like, okay, I've got to have a content nugget about like this in personal development that's got to be delivered at this time, that's got to be delivered this time. I'm focused on the content of, in my case, helping people grow their business with recurring revenue. In your case, helping salon owners grow their business and have better functioning teams and so forth. But what I am doing is I'm being very mindful about like, where are people getting stuck in implementing those things, and then speaking to that and those sticking points and addressing that head on and having conversation about it. Like today's 10 and 10 was a perfect example. There were probably 2 or 3 of those questions that came up that had nothing to do with like tactical or practical applications of building a membership, had everything to do with like people just getting stuck in their head. So it gave me a chance to be able to speak to those things and help people navigate those things so that it's interwoven without it necessarily being, quote, a content piece. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And James, you do this naturally through all of your stuff. When when you're delivering your programs, it's not like per se like you have a personal development piece, although you do speak to mindset a lot because that's kind of a big part of who you are and how you help people. But it's blended all throughout, and I think that that's one of the things that I have found comfort in. In what I would, it sounds like when you did your pop-up group, that's kind of what was organically happening because you were helping people organically navigate the personal challenges that were coming through navigating the whole quarantine and so forth. And so sometimes we want a box for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm going to suggest is that, sometimes you don't necessarily need a box, but you just need an intention of how to weave those things in.
And Tiffany, I want to ask a question here. So if we have a specific action item for the month, and then you asked a question like, can it be related? Does it have to be related? What if it's not related? I would like to ask you that. What do you think would happen, or what are you worried would what are you worried would happen if the mindset topic was not related to the business topic?
I don't think it's whether or not I'm worried if it was or wasn't. I think where I struggle the most with is like how to present it.
Well, then that's a different question, because if you're asking me, can it be related or unrelated, and you're not worried if anything would happen if it's related or not, it's not an issue. It doesn't matter. Right? Because that's why I'm asking that question, because nothing would happen. People aren't going to sit there and say, hey, this amazing thing that's helping me grow is not in any way related to this other thing that's helping me grow, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that, what was the question then?
Well, I just can't figure out like if it should be related and what that.
But we've already established that's irrelevant, right?
Yeah. And
so will you give yourself permission to have it not be related, and that's okay?
Mm-hmm.
It can be completely unrelated.
Yeah.
Right? Because I asked you, and let's do it again. What do you think would happen if it's unrelated?
Nothing would happen.
Nothing would happen.
Yeah.
They'd be fine with it. Do you believe that, or are you just?
No, I do believe that.
Then it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. So then what? Go ahead.
So I think like, okay, so if now that, yes, you're right, like nothing would happen. So you have a business. Do I need like 2 content release for that month?
Would you like 2 content releases?
Would I what?
Would you like to have 2 content releases?
I mean, I don't care.
I mean, does that excite you? Or you're like, oh, I would love to do a separate piece of content teaching this thing on mindset.
I like to create content. So that like hasn't been a problem, and I can talk whatever. So that's not a problem.
And do you think it would benefit?
I don't think they'd be overwhelmed.
You're concerned they'd be overwhelmed. Okay. Here's the cool thing about that is when you start talking about mindset stuff, you don't run the risk as much of overwhelming people. Where people start to get overwhelmed is when we're teaching things about how to do something, and then they realize, okay, I have to watch this video, learn how to do it, and now I have a to-do list of all these things I got to go do that I haven't been doing.
Right.
When we start talking about mindset stuff, it can be things that they could be doing in the moment. Like you could have something on just about, gratitude. Like you could teach someone about the importance of daily gratitude, and then I'm just making up an example, right? Yeah. And putting gratitude into your team culture. No one's going to be overwhelmed by that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in my experience, speaking about these things is about who we're being and how we're thinking in the moment. And people won't be overwhelmed by that. And if they are, then it's because they're not finding value in it, in my opinion.
Okay. One of the last thoughts that I have for you, Tiffany, is that I really would encourage you right from the get-go, when people join your membership, to talk about the importance of these 2 foundational pillars. You can't, we all want to grow in our business, and that's why we're here, but you can't grow in your business if you don't also personally grow yourself. And talking about those 2 things as foundational pillars being pivotal in enabling people to be able to grow there, but you can't do one without the other. And so if that's talked about right from the get-go, it sets a precedent. It creates a culture that we are all working on ourselves personally, and through that, we're going to be able to grow our business. And so I just think that I would encourage you to weave that into your core content, so it's part of your onboarding when someone joins your membership, that you're speaking to that right from the get-go, so that it's automatically interwoven into what it is that you do. And now that just opens the gate for you to be able to show how one is important and influences the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that's what I've been missing. I haven't spoke to one audience why they're both important. And so here's a practical idea for you and suggestion. When you're in your onboarding in your core content, in Tribe, we talk about speaking to the success path, right? And maybe what you do is you identify what are the typical mindset stumbling blocks for people at different points of that journey. And you can kind of loosely speak to, some of the challenges that people may face. Like at this point, it's common if you begin having these types of, feelings and thoughts. And I want you to know that that's totally normal.
And that's part of this journey that we're going to help you navigate, so that now that opens that door for you to be able to have that conversation as you're delivering your content. And as I said, it's woven in right from the get-go. So it's not like this thing that's kind of just over here, like, oh, it's like this personal development. It's no. It's like part of the whole experience. It's interwoven right in. And because of that, because it's interwoven, you're going to experience that much more success. So those would be some practical thoughts in terms of it. But like, I think you already know, as James is kind of alluding to, you already know what to do. It's just a matter of like whether you just will give your permission just to kind of loosen up and go with it.
Yeah.
I think that was, sorry, go ahead.
From my experience, it's a lot of the hesitation comes from you're wanting to get everything right. It's gotta, you're wanting everything to be perfect. I can see it in you. And what I would say is just give yourself permission to realize like part of the membership experience is a journey, not only for them, but also for you, and how you can best serve them at the highest level. And you're never going to know that until you start experimenting and trying different ways to serve your people. And through that, you're going to get more and more clarity. And so you already know that you can do this. You already know that you should do this. You already have started doing it. And so now it's a matter of you just getting comfortable with doing it more often and doing it in a way that it's not going to be perfect from the get-go, and that's okay, but it's going to get better and better and better in terms of the way in which you merge those two as you start working through it.
So Tiffany, you started before this call and you were adamant. You declared, I'm stuck. You still holding on to that belief that you're stuck?
No.
Okay, cool. So then what's next? What's your next required action? What are you going to do from this?
I think that content piece is what I had been like struggling with. So I think from here, doing like a live in that pop-up community is the first like audience that has the mix of the two, and, beta offering another membership experience that is actually a combination of both.
But it's the same membership you already have, or you're not going to create another membership?
No. I had closed down my reservations with yourself.
Got it. And the membership for the salon owners, is that already live, the membership with the salon owners?
No. So all my salon owner is either one-on-one or like one culture program.
Got it.
So that pop-up community was the first time that had language of both. And without running ads or anything, I think I have like 350 people that have joined over the last like 6 weeks in that. Amazing. So pitching something to them would be the first time that somebody sees a project with actually both components.
And something good too to put on that list would be to start creating that content calendar where you're doing the action item week or month and the mindset topic. What's a really good topic that you could do? I know there's a lot of salon owners that tend to overthink things. You could create some content on how they could stop overthinking things. What might be some good advice, Tiffany, on how to not overthink?
He's being cheeky, Tiffany. I'll give him a slap for that.
Yeah, but I'm being cheeky, but at the same time, guys, every hurdle that we overcome, everything we realize about ourselves and our own journey becomes the wisdom we gain from that becomes the gifts that we can share with other people. Yeah. The more you take the overcomplicated and make it simple, the more you can help them do the same. And that's what so that's really good.
Okay.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you guys.
Real quick, just so because I want to give you a chance, where can people find out more about you?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Rounded Sharply and Village Solo.
Awesome.
I have 2 different brands that we're going to merge to one.
So it was Rounded Sharply, and what was the other one?
Village Solo.
So it'll be Rounded Sharply Villages.
Yeah.
Rounded Solo.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thank you guys.
James, thanks for that, buddy. Okay, we've got some more people who are. Wait, you want to come say hi to James? Okay, sorry, James, you're popular.
Yay! Who is it?
Oh no, sorry. The dog was more interesting. Okay.
The dog has something in her mouth.
Okay. It's chaos here in the home office. Oh, now Marla wants to come say hello.
Hi, Marla.
Hello.
What are you doing? Hey,
No,
let's
That's
yeah,
what
you
you
can
like
talk-
to taught me to.
No.
go take your dad's phone again.
Yeah, this is the problem for everybody.
I'll try to get that, but I'm drawing on this paper right now. Like you want me to?
This is the challenge, everybody watching. James has a tendency to teach my kids to do cheeky things. And so whenever Marla hears James's voice, she comes in here and wants to do cheeky things on my paper. Okay, thank you very much. Sure.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Oh my goodness.
He just comes in at the right time, like in between our coaching.
Yeah, it was perfectly timed. Okay, now the door has been closed. We can get to our next guest. So I'm going to bring up Deirdre. Deirdre, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Very surprised to be here, but fine, thank you.
Yeah, well, listen, it's great chance to talk to James. So let's before we dive in, can you give everybody a quick snapshot of who you are and who you serve?
Indeed. I work with new homeschoolers. A lot of them will be coming to us from having had their child in mainstream education. So it's a bit of an upheaval for them.
And I bet there's a lot more of them right now.
Yeah, actually, we only started offering this course it started as a course at the start of this year, and literally as we finished the beta, everyone went into lockdown.
Wow.
Yeah, but it hasn't, the approach that we take is not designed for short-term homeschooling, so it's not really relevant to a lot of people at the moment.
Can you just, even though you said that, could we just start by you sharing how people could find out more about you, just because there might be someone where it is relevant here on this call?
Absolutely. You can get us at learnforlifehomeschool.com. And also it's Learn for Life Homeschool on both Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yeah, awesome. So what has you raise your hand today? How can we help you?
Well, we started, as I mentioned, with building a course back in February, and it went very well, if a little too quickly for my mind. The program that I was on required us to build a 4-week program, so there was a lot of content packed into a 4-week program. It never sat with me that it was a 4-week program. I always felt that it should be a much longer thing, because when people are trying to establish a homeschool practice, they obviously need support over a longer term. And even though they all came out of this course feeling full of the joys of spring and ready to go, and they knew what they had to do, I just knew in my heart that after another 6 weeks, another 3 months, when all that had worn off and life had started to erode it all again, they'd probably be back to square one. So a membership.
What does square one mean? Can you elaborate? What does that mean to be back to square one?
Chaos.
And what do you mean by chaos? Like chaos how? What type of chaos are we talking about?
We're talking about not really having a structure to what they're doing, not necessarily knowing how to deliver material, or whatever material they choose to deliver, feeling like they are going to fail their child. That's a big one, and most of the people who came to us mentioned that they were really worried that they weren't good enough to do this.
Yeah, got it. Okay, great. So I hear all that. What's your question?
My question is that I have content which we had created based on a 4-week structure. It's actually a twofold question, in fact. I would feel much more comfortable with that being rolled out over 3 to 4 months in the first instance. And then I would like my membership to be a closed membership. So we would open maybe 3 times a year. So we would be, everything we talk about is about a cycle. It's all a cycle. So people would be starting as they come into the membership at the start of that cycle. And then when the next intake comes, they would be going through it again and again and again, because it's a deepening practice. However, my business partner, who is the education expert in this, has some serious health concerns, and remaking the all the videos and so on that go with this is probably just not going to happen right now. So what I have is all the stuff that we'd originally prepared, which I can either kind of try and shoehorn into a new structure. And I don't really feel right about, saying, right, okay, well, then I will re-record it as, because they're not my words, it's not my teaching, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
I don't think that she would have a major problem with it, but it's still not, because if people want to ask a question, they have to ask it of her.
Yeah. Okay. I have a couple of questions here. So first of all, I for everything I'm hearing is like, you know what the outcome is. You have the clear vision. You even said the words, "I know it in my heart," how this is supposed to unfold, how this works. It's very clear. Just to get some more clarification from speaking to the vision, does your business partner on the same page with that, at least in terms of the outcome? Like you guys both on the same page that it's better as a membership with these closed open enrollment periods?
Yeah, I don't think she's not really overly attached to one structure or another.
Okay. So you don't have any opposition. Like she's not sitting there saying, no, it needs to be a core, and that's not an issue anymore.
As long as it doesn't put demands on her time and her energy, that's where our problem is.
Right. So what I'm hearing then, the question is we know you have the vision, you have the clear vision of how this is meant to be put out, but the sticking point is that the expert, your business partner, it's just not going to be a thing where we're going to redo all these videos from scratch. And even if health wasn't an issue, I'd still want to find a way that we don't have to redo these videos. So the first question becomes what we call a possibility question, which is, how could it become possible? What would it look like to turn the content into this membership format without having to have your business partner refilm anything? I already have ideas, but I want to get your gears turning to see what exists there as a possibility for you, because there's always a way, right?
Okay, so I can try to modify the content that we have already made in terms of video. I can try and sort of cut that into sort of awkwardly shaped pieces. Because they're recorded as conversations as well in a lot of instances, that may not be possible, so I can't really count on that. The next option, I guess, is to have text options so that they are more like PDF book format. Mm-hmm. We could, the less appealing option, as I said, because these are not my words, is for me to redo it for,
be the voice, but you're just like transcribing what she said.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that one, but I want to hear more about the modify one. I'm wondering, can you be more like the one idea I had was, and again, they're just ideas, right? Is like, could Deirdre be your host? Like, hi, I'm your liaison of the membership. And so you're the person that's kind of guiding them on, here's what we're going to start. You're going to hear from, what's your business partner's name again?
Gabriel.
You're going to hear from, the first piece we want to start with, the first pillar is this, and you're going to hear a very, very powerful training from Gabriel on this, right now. So let's cut to Gabriel, right? Could you do something like that where you are coming in to create more of the intentional flow and structure, and then like guiding people to Gabriel's work? Then at least Gabriel wouldn't have to redo any of them, But remember, there's always a way. There's always a possibility. And even if there was no health concerns, I wouldn't want you guys redoing all the work that you did, because it is a lot of work to do that, right?
Well, it could be better, but
well, yeah, but let's get this thing to like 1,000 or 2 members before we start doing a big overhaul. You know what I mean? Does anything like that exist as a possibility for you? Is that something that could be like, we could do that?
Certainly it does. I mean, I was sort of the day-to-day liaison with people on the course. I do all the kind of Facebook stuff and things anyway.
You're already taking that role on, yeah.
Yeah. Gabriel, bless her, didn't actually have a Facebook account until we started the course.
Yeah, I love these types of relationships where you have this person that's just the expert and they just stay in their lane and you're like, great, and I'll take care of everything else. Those are matches made in heaven, so that makes me really happy. But I'm going to say this for the third time, because I know there's somebody listening who had a course, went through something similar. They created their course videos, and now they're all excited about Tribe and a membership, and they're actually thinking of redoing everything. And that to me is crazy pants, because Stu will tell you, I'll tell you that when we look at where our time allocation is, well, let's say this, when you've created a goal, like what's the goal for this? How many members would you like before the end of 2020?
Before the end of 2020, 500. Yeah,
500. So if you had 500 members in this membership that you're helping them, and by the way, I just gotta say, I love what you guys are doing, and I'm such a big fan, and keep up the great work.
He's a big fan and has no kids.
Yeah,
I'm an even bigger fan.
Right. Well, I mean, I've even offered to homeschool my nephew. I'm like, I'll do it. I'll teach him. Get this little entrepreneur going here. So what I was getting at is, to get that 500 members, you guys are going to have a specific amount of time and energy that you dedicate every day to this business. And one of the biggest pitfalls and traps that people are going to go into is they think that if I just keep improving the content, making it better, making it fancier, making it nicer, that I'll somehow magically get to those 500 members. And, this is a made up thing, but it's the Pareto principle, and that's pretty accurate. What I tend to see time and time again, and I'd love Stu to talk about this too, is it's really about the 80-20, that we've got to be spending about 80% of our time on the acquiring of members and of the keeping them. And not just on 80% of our time on just like redoing videos or recreating the content, because the truth is the content's there, the content's extraordinary. We know that's not the issue. It's not like, it's really subpar, James. That didn't come up. Like she just taught some of the worst stuff possible. It's no. We just need to make this. We need to mold it and mix it and shape it to a membership, but the core content is still there. And you'll only get to those 500 members if we're spending more of our time on acquiring those members, marketing it, letting the rest of the world know that this exists. You won't get there if we're spending our time redoing things. And that's where I don't want you guys. Stu, thoughts?
Yeah, one of my thoughts, Deirdre, is that like constraints can actually create a lot of opportunity for you to have creative breakthroughs that you wouldn't otherwise normally have. And I'll give you an example. When I was business partners with Michael Hyatt, when we first formed our partnership, the goal was to launch a membership. But he was tremendously busy already. So his whole thought was like, look, he loves creating content, but he had no time for it. He was on the road speaking 30 to 40 times a year. So that meant like a day on the front, a day on the back. He was gone over 100 days a year. Plus, at the time, he was publishing a blog post every single day, and he was publishing a podcast once a week. So he was already in like high, content production mode. And because of that, it forced us to get creative in terms of the way that we produced content for the membership, so that we would have to produce the content in a very short period of time. And so I think constraints can actually create a situation that lead to breakthroughs. It did for us, whereby we designed a content strategy where we were producing a year's worth of content over the course of 6 days. And so that likely would never have happened had we not had the constraints. And so the constraint that you have is like, how can we best use all of this content that we've already created and deliver it in a membership experience that's going to help people get incredible results? And that for me is more about content strategy than it is anything else. And it's about you getting creative with like, what do we have available to us and how can we best use that? And so that's my first thought. Second thought is I love the direction that you and James were going, where you, Deirdre, are essentially playing the role of a curator. So you're like this person in the library of all of this homeschooling information, and somebody comes and says, okay, Deirdre, I'm looking for information on X. And you said, one moment, please. Go. And you like look it up and you say, okay, you're going to want to go to section, blah, 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 blah. And so you're playing that role of a facilitator who's helping your members find the information that's most relevant to them to help them wherever they are on this journey. And so again, I want you to think about it as though you've got this library of content. And now for you, it's about curating that content and structuring that content to be able to help people find it no matter where they are on their journey to best serve their needs. And so there's many different ways that you can repurpose this. You're probably 100% right in that you jammed way too much in that 4 weeks for that course. And so if you start backing up out of that, there's probably a couple years worth of content, that, is set and ready to go. It's just a matter of like chunking it, reorganizing it, and structuring it in a way that slows the pace down and creates an environment where you're supporting people in the implementation of it. Because remember, you hear us talk about it all the time in Tribe, that it's not so much about learning a whole lot of new information. It's about that balance of learning and doing. And this is a role that you can play that doesn't require your partner, Gabrielle, to teach anything new. You're just facilitating and helping people in implementing what it is that they've learned. Does that make sense?
It does. Just one other sort of side issue, because I see this as sort of a rolling content delivery. Do I need to think about when people have gone through it the first time that, sort of a substream comes on so that they are getting new they're not just repeating the same content again and again. They need to be maybe getting something else in addition.
Well, you actually know the answer to this because you said it right at the very beginning. You talked about it's about helping people deepen their level of mastery of that content. And so do I think that you need to create a whole new wave of content? No, I don't. I actually think it's healthy to revisit that content again because they'll be coming through that content with with a different lens. And it's about deepening their level of mastery of that content.
But I'm seeing a common theme coming up between Deirdre and Tiffany, so it must be coming up for others, is that we start to doubt some of the things like what's the right way to do this? How should I be doing this? And what we're doing is we're not trusting that we know how to support them from the highest level that we can. And so the piece is exactly what Stu said. You need to tell them that. You see, you can have them revisit the same content, but the mistake would be to not tell them that that's what's going to happen, and this is why that's important. So to sit there and say, now that you're on your 4th month here, here's what we're going to do. We need to actually take you back and revisit these, and I'm just saying it in my words because I don't know anything that you guys know about your stuff. But we need to revisit this so that we can deepen your level of mastery. I could just teach you a bunch of things and you could get overwhelmed and distracted, or you can just develop a deeper level of mastery with what you've already begun to learn. And I guarantee you, after you finish these videos a second time, there will be plenty of things that you missed the first time you went through it. That's why we're here. That's why this is so important. So now what I've done is I've just told them why. We keep asking, is this, is that can we do that? But is that like us asking for permission? And that's the wrong question. Can I do that? The right question is, will this help them? And if so, how do I make sure that I communicate to them that it will? And that's all that matters. Stu and I are sitting out here and we're saying, will this help people? And go, yes. So how do we make sure we communicate to them that we know this is beneficial to even somebody that doesn't get up here on a hot seat, right? If they're listening and paying attention, it's already benefiting them. So will it help? How do I communicate that it will?
Yeah, and I from my experience, Deirdre, it's about you coming from a level of confidence in that. Like, for example, I have my level of confidence with what we teach in the Tribe experience has grown every single year. And part of that is because I remind myself every single day that Tribe works. Tribe works, Tribe works, Tribe works. And how do I remind myself? I just review the stories of what is happening in our community every single day. And when you do that, you become more confident in the material and more convicted in the way in which you deliver that material. And the thing that I would say to you about revisiting previous content, because I do know that this sometimes is a stumbling block for people in the thought process is I've got to create more. I've got to create more. I always got to create more. It's always got to be new. That's the only thing that's going to keep people interested. And I am less interested in keeping people's attention and more interested in helping people get results. And when you have that, it's the greatest selling benefit of all time. Not that it's like fancy and like, you know, it's going to keep people's attention or they're entertained. No. If you can help them go from where they are to where they want to be in the most effective way, it will sell all day long. And so what you've got to do is you've got to just really stay hyper-focused on, I'm creating a learning environment that is helping people get results. And I know that if I just keep teaching them more, they don't develop that level of mastery that's going to help them make progress. You know, and if you think about like, you know, James and I have a good friend. His name's Ricardo Textera. He's over in Portugal. He's a world champion black belt in karate. Now, he always is practicing the fundamentals of punching and kicking. He's always revisiting that, even though he's like the highest level he could be. He's not, you know, working on some fancy dancy swinging, you know, in the air kick or anything like that. He is practicing the fundamentals. And so I think that it's really important for us as teachers and as leaders in our community is to remind ourselves of that, because we've got to hold that space for our people. And the natural tendency is that people will gravitate towards learning something new because it's easier than developing a deeper level of mastery of what they already know, right? And so I want to encourage you to hold that space for your people so that you can help them develop a deeper level of mastery and help them get better results with what it is that you guys are sharing inside of your membership.
Thank you. That sounds like very good advice.
Awesome.
So do you feel like you have clarity in terms of how to move forward with what you have available to you?
Yeah, I definitely feel reassured that, you know, this isn't going to be a disaster. I don't want to, nobody wants to disappoint people who put their faith in you. So I want to make this the best for them that is absolutely possible.
I want to add something there, because of course no one wants to disappoint, but at the same time, we always end up doing it. You know, we're always, you know, I was doing a live training with my members, and my power went out 10 minutes before we went live. This is 2 days ago. You know, that's disappointing. We're always going to do it. Even when we try our best and put our best of, things are still going to happen. And so, you know, I talk about this is that mistakes are unavoidable. They're inevitable. If you're playing the game, which you are, you're going to make mistakes. Where our reputations really come into play is not in the number of mistakes or not making any mistakes or having a perfect record, but in who we are and how we show up when we do make a mistake, when we do something that disappoints. And that's really where the game begins. I mean, that's where it all comes down to is, so you put something out there and members aren't resonating or they're giving some feedback. It's like, so what are you going to do? You know? And so as Stu talks about confidence, it's easier for him to access and gain more of his confidence when he looks at his members. And I know there's people out there saying, but what if I don't have any members yet? Or I'm just getting started, or I only have 2 members or whatever. Put that confidence in your commitment to them. And a real commitment to your members is saying, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make sure they get those results. And I'm confident in that right now. I know that might not be perfect yet. I know this is the first version. It's the first draft. It might be messy, but I'm still willing to do whatever it takes to make it extraordinary. And when they know that, when you do that, they know that. They feel that, and that's what they love about it. And that's what's most important, because we all make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, and I'm proud to admit that. All right. We good?
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. Deirdre.
Bye.
Jamesy, how goes it, buddy?
Good, man. Marla, come back.
Listen, question for you. What are some common themes that are coming up for you as we are coaching people here?
Well, it's this very interesting paradox in that a lot of things that people are asking are kind of like, can I do that? We're still kind of asking like, what's the right way? What's the best way? But the reality is that to really own this role of being a thought leader and an online expert, we really have to start trusting ourselves more, and that I know the right way to teach my stuff. Like for me, I could have sat there like with Tiffany, because I resonate a lot with what Tiffany was saying. It's like, how do I integrate this? I mean, we're talking about business processes and launches and stuff, and then I'm bringing in like all this like deep, personal development stuff. And I'm like, I don't care. It's value. It made a difference in my life that helped my business, and I want to share it with my people, because someone will resonate with it.
Well, it's interesting because when Tiffany was talking about that, I was thinking about you and your Mind Your Business podcast. You held off on that for quite some time.
I did. Oh, yeah.
And even as one of your good friends, you wouldn't even talk about like some of your interests, like with crystals and all that kind of stuff, because you held back on that. Like, speak to that for a minute.
Well, yeah, it was like all the things that I was learning, that I was applying in my life, that was providing value and was being reflected in my business, because your business is really a reflection of you, right? You talked about this too. You want to grow your business without growing you. Good luck, And so all these things I was learning, like I was learning mindfulness, I was learning how to meditate, and I was learning how to like set intentions, and and things that I was always scoffed at. I scoffed at myself, and then started doing it. A lot of people would scoff at me for it, and so I just kind of held it within, and didn't want to talk about it to anybody, because like then you feel like you have to defend yourself or anything. But where my story really came in was, I was seeing too many people not get results. So like I teach them a marketing thing, or I teach them like how to do a video, and it's like they do that thing, but they're still not getting results. And when I got down to it, I was like, because they're missing this stuff. And if I really want to help people, I can't not talk about these things. And when it gets that like, real for you, like I had no other choice. I'm like, I just can't go any. I'd feel like I was so incongruent and out of alignment in my own life if I'm just like, it's just this thing, and if you just do this one thing, everything magically falls in place. And I'm like, but I'm doing all these other things behind the scenes, So that's where that podcast came from. It was just like, here's some of the things I do in my life, whether it's a mindfulness practice, or visualizations, or a manifestation, or learning about energy, or how to manage our emotions, or beliefs. Like, oh my gosh, beliefs are everything. Like your beliefs are creating so much, and the problem is that we don't experience our beliefs as beliefs. We experience them as the way they are, as the way we are, as the way things are. And so when we experience it that way, we don't think we can change it. And so, people are coming on and they're saying, I'm stuck. That's not true. You're not stuck. That's something that you believe and you speak into existence. And then that's what actually causes you to be stuck. And I actually asked Tiffany that. You declared that you're stuck. Is that still true? She said, no, it never was true. The only thing that would be stuck is our thinking. We keep thinking the same thought, but you can choose a new thought in any moment, So I just think like if we're not starting to learn how to master our mind, but we want to go create something that's never been created before, because that's what entrepreneurship is. It's creating something that hasn't been created. It's going to be a bumpy journey, So yeah.
Well, it's again, I think it's credit to you for acknowledging that you didn't just come out of the womb knowing all this stuff and playing right from the get-go.
No, it's the opposite, dude. It's contrast is what creates clarity. It's going through all those problems myself and just reaching the lowest of lows that allowed for me to learn and discover these things, and then experience that shift. And that's what we do. And then we go teach that to other people. Hey, I had this problem. I solved this thing. Here's what helped me solve it. Now I'd like to help you solve it. That's what we're all doing here, And whether it's homeschooling or, building our salon business, it's all the same thing.
Well, buddy, if we've got time, I'd love to bring on a couple more guests if you're game.
Yeah, I'm game.
So I'm going to bring on, let me see here. We got a bunch of people who have jumped on. Okay. So I'm going to bring on Earl and then Susan. So Earl and Susan, stand by 1 second. Here we go. Earl, how are you, buddy?
Very good. How are you guys?
Oh, there we go. Cool. Good. Well, I thought I'd bring you on to get some some male energy. We've had a couple ladies, so I gotta even play the fair game. So Earl, okay. Talk to us about who are you and who do you serve?
Sure. So I am somebody who loves both of you and is getting close to reaching the boiling point of launching and getting out of my own way through and one of the reasons I love James is that I'm a metaphor junkie just like he is. I sing them effortlessly all day long. And so this getting to 200 degrees over the last, frankly, years. And then, his, your first 100 leads course was awesome. So maybe that got me to 205. And I think that Tribe's going to push me over the top and get me launched. So I have been taking my time through module 1 here and just put out my success path draft into James's Tribe group just earlier last night. And I am a psychologist and a project manager and a leader. I'm right down the road from James in San Diego, but I'm not a surfer. I'm a high altitude backpacker and ultimate Frisbee player. So
Love it.
So anyway,
who's it for specifically? The member? Who do you serve in the membership?
So who I serve is new real estate agents.
Oh, that's good.
So 70% of new real estate agents quit within their first year.
Yeah.
90% within 3 years. And so there's this huge gap between where they are and where they want to be of getting there. And I think that a huge missing piece of the puzzle in real estate agent training is the psychology side of the business, and less the psychology of the realtors themselves and more about understanding the client psychology, the psychology of their prospects and clients, about what they're going through, about what their needs are, about how to authentically connect with them and communicate with them and convert them down the funnel from lead to prospect to client to closing, because realtors don't get paid anything until they get somebody all the way to the closing table. And so that has been summed up for me in a framework. I came to James through Mel Abraham.
Perfect.
And then came to Stu through James.
Okay.
So the frameworks that I've been building are all about mentor mindsets. And so the five mindsets of being a empathetic mentor to your clients so that you become both valued and trusted. And so I can't point to a single thing that I'm stuck on other than, of course, getting out of my own way and launching. But I think that I've learned an enormous amount from the both of you in the last short while, and I'm looking forward to more.
Great. I have two things I want to say really quick, if you don't mind, Stu.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So first thing too is I love this because the psychology becomes like your vehicle. It's like, because you're not, well, by the way, first of all, I got to say, like, you're really in luck us hanging out, because that's what my dad did. He's 40 years, he's retired now, 40 years in real estate. And he was like one of the top 10 in Orange County, like high performer year after year. And then the branch just said, hey, will you become the mentor to the new incoming agents? And I would hear him just bitch and moan about all the new agents. He's like, they don't know anything. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're there to teach them, Dad.
Yeah.
There's a lot, because I got my license and I get it. They don't train you how to be a real estate agent. They just train you how to take the test. So some of the laws and the stuff like that. And one of the biggest mistakes that real estate agents make is what? They don't treat this like a business. They think they're just another employee. Tell me what to do and how to do it. And when do I get paid? But it's a business. So what I wanted to speak to is like, I see a massive opportunity about using the unique vehicle, which has you stand out, because you're not the first person to say, hey, I help real estate agents, but that's irrelevant. It's just how do I approach this differently? Why Earl over anybody else? It's like, because we speak to the psychology of it. But I feel like you're almost going to dance around or tiptoe around what the true transformation is that they want. And at the end of the day,
Exactly.
to speak right to it, they want more deals. They want to close more houses, and they want to be a top performing agent. And I wouldn't shy away from that. That's because shying away from that is going to have them shy away from you, right? And we just need to show them that when you understand the psychology of selling, the psychology of communication, and the psychology of your client, you're gonna book more deals. You're gonna get more yeses. All those things, right? And so I would just make sure that even if someone was to say, hey, what is it you do, Earl? You're like, oh, I teach new real estate agents how to become a top performer in their first 2 years. That's what they want. And I do that by showing them the psychology behind effective sales, communication, and human behavior. Right. You know, I don't know, Stu, does that sound pretty badass?
It does. I wrote down something very similar in the sense that focus on the outcome. The psychology material is your vehicle for helping them be able to get that outcome. So, you know, James said it better and juicier, but I just wrote down in my quick notes, it's the psychology of transforming a prospect to a buyer. You know, and but you know what he was talking about, like that was just my quick when you were describing what you were talking about. What the way in which James has framed it up is from the marketing perspective and the sales perspective. That's the hook. That's the thing that's going to get people. You always lead with what people want. What's the transformation? What's the outcome that they're looking for? What's the end of that success path? And you know, they want to be, as James pointed, a top performer. They want to be selling a certain number of houses, whatever it may be. And they want the fastest and easiest path to get there. And that's the vehicle of what it is that you're sharing with them, you know? And I think that that's a really, it's really important to keep that front and center. And the other side of it is to remember, like, what you are teaching is the secret sauce. I would love and encourage you to think about when you're talking about your frameworks, to utilize the framework. That's the power of the framework. It's like the framework creates the curiosity. It creates the desire. Like, well, what is this? You know, this 5-part thing or this 3-part thing or whatever it is that you call it. And that's what creates the intrigue and the desire to learn more. So it's kind of like built in. It's already baked in. And so I think you're in a great position, Earl, and I'm excited for you as you begin to move forward.
And by the way, this is I think this is such an exciting niche and angle, because I don't know if you don't know this, Stu, but we just got another house yesterday.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. He's laughing because it's 3 in like 4 months. But we're building our little Airbnb business out here.
Compound.
And it's our compound out in Arizona. And I share it. And it's not to, my wife's here, so I'm not trying to throw her under the bus or anything, but psychology came into play during the negotiations. And we had the price, the listing price. We had what we made our first offer in. And then we had what we were willing to go up to. And it took a while. It was like 3 counter offers, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And we finally got to where we wanted, where we were okay to pay for it. And the sellers were just a big pain in the bootay. And so, my wife was like, I don't think we should take it. And I just asked her, and she's like, because these were awful people to work with, and like, we don't want to reward that type of behavior. And I'm like, I so agree. Like, I couldn't agree more with you. But at the end of the day, by us punishing them and saying no, we also punish ourselves. And the funny thing is having my whole family's in real estate. My mom, my dad, my uncle, and I was too. You guys know, anybody who's dealt with any experience in real estate, like, people get weird and wonky when it comes to their homes, when it comes to money and negotiations and sales. And just sharing stories and examples like that, I was able to remove myself more, and Chelsea was as well too, and be like, look, at the end of the day, this is what we want and this is the price. We're going to get what we want. It's not the ideal way in which we would have liked to have gotten there, but we got there. And there's a psychology element to all of this that's causing deals to fall through the cracks. That's causing, clients to or homeowners to cancel their contracts with a listing agent. That's causing, relationships to end. And when someone can really understand the psychology behind money and pricing, right, and what it means to sell their home,
framing, anchoring, all that.
Oh my gosh, it's so good, right? So I just I had to share more about that because I really love this. And you did mention getting out of your own way, and it's a really huge step for us to acknowledge that, because when we get to that place, I think the moment we notice I just got to get out of my own way, that's the moment that we do, and that's the moment that everything takes off, isn't it? Because it's up until that moment when we've been pointing to everything else. We've been saying everything. I'm not talking to Earl. I'm talking to everyone here. It's everything else. It's like, I just don't have all the pieces yet. And I still have more things to learn. And I don't have this perfect yet. And I don't have that ready yet. And then when we get
when I get this in place, and when I get that in place, and after I learn this, and after I learn that,
then I'll be ready. But it never comes, right? Because it's someday, one day, and someday, one day never comes. But the moment we get to the place, we're like, you know what? I see how I've been showing up in my business, and I just need to get out of my own way. That's usually when we do. And so I'd really like to help you do that. What would you say is preventing you from launching this in 60 days or less? Is there anything there?
I wouldn't say preventing me, but I would say that a challenge that I think the Success Path has been enormously helpful with me in is that if I look at the span of what I want to teach, some of it's appropriate for people in different stages. And now I can start, putting them on index cards and dealing them into the stages, and then doing that, content strategy appropriately. Overall, I'm planning to do a short 5-video mini course as my lead magnet, and then start doing webinars, as you say in your list builder, James.
Yes.
But without what you were saying earlier, without digging into the details of your relationship with your real estate agent in Sedona, you had an offer price, your counter, and then what you were willing to go to. A lot of people distrust their realtor so much that they won't actually tell their realtor anything of that information, and that hamstrings their realtor's ability to effectively negotiate on their behalf. And so building that trusted relationship as a realtor with your clients is critical to being able to effectively serve them.
What a great piece of content, right? Like how to create instant trust and rapport with your clients so that you can get the yeses and you can make the deal go through. I mean, and notice how I always put the benefits, so that, right?
Right. You
always want to practice doing that. Okay, so I love it. I think this is great as a webinar. I think it's fantastic. What you're going to want to be doing is you're going to, in your content, in your webinar, you're going to want to, what's going to be really beneficial is you want to point to the symptoms. Deals falling through, buyers, backing out, all the things that are symptoms, and you want to continue to point them back to the psychology. It's because of the psychology. If you don't understand how and why this is happening, then it's going to continue to happen until we get this figured out. The chances of growing and getting more houses sold is going to be slim to none. That's going to make them want to go, oh, I really need to learn and master this, right? So always remember, we have to be marketers first. So, the whole thing, like the challenge you shared was like, all this I want to teach. Well, that's a good part about the membership is you're going to have something new you can share with them for, in perpetuity. But I love, and so I'm sure you've heard me say this, and I know Stu talks about this. We just talk about it using different metaphors, but this is called the curse of coaching, which is like when you're so good at what you do and you have such a wealth of knowledge, we have to also remember that it's a different hat that we're wearing when we market, right? And that being the marketer is like, first we have to sell them on the importance of psychology in real estate and how relevant it is, the true benefits, the so what of it, so that they're ready and chomping at the bit to learn this stuff. So you said nothing's preventing you. So do you have a date yet to do your beta launch?
I'm working through Tribe. I may not be up with exactly the same week that everybody's on necessarily, but I expect to have a plan in place by the end of the course, by the end of the program. So I expect to do it quite soon. And, with good coaching from you, I'm in Courtney's pod and through the whole Tribe community, I've already connected with a bunch of other people in a great niche that are related, including Stu's realtor the other day. We spent almost an hour on Zoom together. So,
let me ask one more question. Sorry. So, because you mentioned it, and I think that's really great about getting out of your own way. Is there a specific way that you can share that you have gotten in your way?
Sure. I'm a little bit unusual in that, if you look at like the Russell Brunson Expert Secrets, I'm not following the traditional path where I have gone through a personal transformation and now let me share my awesome success path with you. Yeah. I'm a little bit more of the outsider because I am not myself a real estate agent. I'm a psychologist and leader.
Can I just say there? So I want to hear what the belief is there. So if I'm
the belief, the belief is the imposter syndrome of who am I to teach realtors if I'm not a realtor, and
if I'm not a realtor
to get over that.
Yeah, if I'm not okay, great. So now we're here. If I'm not a real estate agent, even though I'm an expert in all these other things, then I can't teach real estate agents these things. Okay, cool. So you know that you won't ever put out a date, put a plan together and implement on it as long as you're holding on to that belief.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what are we going to do with that belief?
Well, I think I would like to say that it's in my past, that I've gotten over it. I now own it, that I'm not a real estate agent, and that I have outside useful perspectives. And so I have a confidence and a comfort level that I didn't have 6 months or a year ago. And that's what I tell myself, which is, you've been thinking about and planning and frameworking this for years now. Why haven't you launched? I think that's
the reason. That's the reason right there. That's the reason. Just so just in case. The why really rarely matters, but that is the reason. That's all it is. Is, who am I to be teaching this? I'm not the real estate agent. But it's not a matter of whether or not you are a real estate agent or not, right? What you've realized is that it's only a matter of, can I help them?
Right.
And will teaching them these things help them?
One of the things that I would say to you too here, Earl, that I've found to be useful in coaching, thousands of people who have struggled with this exact same question, is that part of the fear of that, who am I to be teaching real estate agents if I'm not a real estate agent myself, comes from this fear of like, what if somebody questions me? Like, what if somebody says, well, who are you, Earl? You're not even a real estate agent. How can you be teaching me? And then it's like, okay, well, how do I navigate that? And so one of the things that I have found useful to share with people is if you look in like, I'm a big basketball fan, hey, my Toronto Raptors are still world champions. I mean, yeah, the season's been put on hold, but they're still world champions. But if you look at some of like the best coaches in the world, right? And I'll take our coach of our Toronto Raptors, Nick Nurse. He's candidate for Coach of the Year this year. Was he the best player growing up? No, he wasn't. He wasn't by a long shot. If you look at like Phil Jackson, was he the best player when he was playing? No, he wasn't. But are they some of the best coaches? Absolutely. Why? Because they were able to bring in a different outside perspective. And I think that this is a really important part to when you are explaining what it is that you do. It's actually an advantage. It's actually, using the fact that you are a psychologist as an advantage to be able to dissect where these deals are breaking down, not because of what's being put on ink and paper and the words, but it's because of the psychology of both the real estate agent, both the buyers and the sellers, and I think that that's a really important piece to the puzzle in that you approach this from a place of strength and advantage and not from a place of weakness. And this is actually the thing that I would encourage you to lean into in your marketing versus shy away from, and actually bring that to the forefront. You know what I mean?
And
you're going from apologetic to proud of it, and it's an advantage.
Yes.
And here's the question. If Stu decided today, you know what, I want to teach membership sites to real estate agents, do you think he'd be successful doing that?
I don't see why not.
Right.
He could do it.
Yeah, he could do it. So why can he do it?
Because his expertise is in membership sites.
Right. And what's your expertise in?
Psychology and leadership. So
exactly. Yeah. It's no difference.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same thing.
Let me share one tiny thing before I go here and let you go, which is that a great modern research tool for finding people's frustrations and problems is Instagram accounts that post humorous memes about their daily frustrations. And there are at least 12 in the real estate area that are posting just frustration after frustration.
Wow.
And realtors, as a break from their frustrations, go check out these memes and go, oh.
It's so true, so true. And like that's your marketing copy right there.
Exactly.
So that's brilliant.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course, Earl. I hope you'll go out and help these agents because they have a lot to learn. I've worked with a lot of them. That's how I got my start, by the way, was I taught social media for real estate agents back in 2009, 2010. And they knew that I wasn't a successful agent. I hadn't practiced. I got my license, but I've never sold a home. Okay. But they followed me. They trust me. They paid me. I would teach workshops to real estate agents because I was showing them how to use Facebook and Twitter in their business. And they didn't say what not a single person said, but you're not an agent. What they got was that I understood them and I understood my expertise, like psychology, like yours. And guess what? When there's an elephant in the room, what happens when we ignore it? It gets bigger. So you call it out. I mean, that's what all this comes down to is like, you're the leader here. So you just get to call it out. Look, I know some of you guys are going to make the mistake of thinking, oh, he's not practiced 20 years of real estate. What does he know? But the reality is I prefer to work with real estate agents. But the reality is that sales, human behavior, the way the brain works is universal, whether you're in real estate or car sales or anything. So I just prefer to work with agents because, whatever your reasons are. So you could choose to cut yourself off from valuable information and training that's going to change your life and change your career simply because you have a belief that you can't help me. Or you could be like my smart and savvy students and members that have opened up their mind and their heart to new and valuable information that will work whether you're in real estate or any line of sales, because it's all universal. And when it's universal, it's true. So which one are you going to do? Right? So you call it out. And then what are they going to say? Oh, but you're still not in real estate. Like, great, this isn't a right fit for you. And I'm going to work with the people that are, you know what I mean? So really good, Earl.
I'm excited for you, Earl. I circle back when you get your date settled. So it's got to be somewhere around like mid-July, early August. So I'll be looking forward to it.
Will do. I'm active in both the groups. So
great, buddy. Thanks, Earl. Okay.
I have an 11 o'clock. What's your schedule like?
Yes, and so I've got. Sorry. Okay. Like right now?
How much longer do you?
I was gonna say 10 minutes.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, 10 minutes. We good? We good, James?
Yeah.
Okay. Susan, hang tight. Here we go. Susan, are you there?
Hi.
How the heck are you?
I'm
There you are. Keep going that way. Keep going. Keep going.
I don't know what I'm doing.
No.
This is weird.
The other way.
Wait, step 2.
Hi.
It's reverse.
So, okay. So, first off, hello to you.
Hi.
Welcome. Can you let us know who you are and who do you serve?
I sat in the front row at Tribe 2 years ago.
Nice.
I went there through Moolah.
Okay.
Waited in line for an hour to meet James. Came back, bought BBD. Last April, I did a webinar that no one came to. And I have just been kaput since then. I have not launched anything.
Okay.
Up until, my issue, and I'll tell you who I served. My issue until about a month ago was that I called myself list challenged. So if you said anything to me about anything in business, I would say, oh, everything's great, except I'm list challenged.
Yeah.
I am a quiet coach to shy and introverted women who have difficulty, professional women, business owners who have difficulty speaking up, taking the stage, anything that calls attention to themselves, but they are like excellent at what they do. They just can't present worth a damn. Mm-hmm. I know a little bit about her. So
are they list challenged too, Susan?
Pardon me, James?
Are they list challenged too?
Yes, because they don't know why people don't respond to them, even though they put themselves out there.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you a question, because you did your first webinar last April, right?
I did.
And no one showed up. Is that what you said?
Showed up.
Okay, cool. So what we do, and I'm just gonna ask you to do your best, especially because we're gonna kind of go a little fast with this one, to answer as like truthful and honest as possible. So what I noticed there is that you did that, and then you haven't really been able to like get back on the horse again in the business since until the last month, which is so amazing.
I've been doing it constantly.
Oh, you have? Okay, but you haven't launched again.
I have not launched again.
Okay.
I'm doing the first 100 leads.
Yeah.
But I had to stop at the point where it said to go out and ask people if they're interested.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary. Okay, but let me just check in here. So when you did your very first webinar for as a Being List challenge, and no one showed up.
By the way, there's lots of people in the comments who are loving you, Susan. And Michelle just said here, definitely can relate. I am list challenged too.
Yeah.
Anita said, nothing wrong with you, Susan. So that's not that. And Liz was saying, I love her. What a great niche. So I want you to know that you're not alone in this. You know, a lot of people, and Miriam just said, yeah, me too. She can relate. So you're not alone in this. And so I didn't mean to cut you off, James, but I wanted to emphasize the fact that
Stu, I've been listening to, in February, you did a Facebook Live, how to grow your Facebook list. I'm sorry, your email list. I recorded your live. It's on my phone. I take walks and listen to it. And please continue, because my little issue persists. I'm very careful about how I frame it.
Great. So here's something I'm going to throw in there for a second. You know what the best lead magnet is? Everyone's always asking, right? Like, what's the best lead magnet so you can build your list? It's you. Okay. So if we're looking for the right way, the right tool, the right tactic, and the right strategy for list building, you are your lead magnet. So we are all, through our frequency, attracting our people or not. That's the first place we got to be looking at every single day. Mm-hmm. Then that turn begins to manifest in the words that we choose, the message that we share with other people. So that's just something like what you guys got to stop doing is stop telling yourselves these awful stories, because what no one ever taught us is what you think in your mind is what you create in your life. So when we go around and we say, or when we don't have a list, the reason we don't have a list is because we are going around saying, I'm list challenged. And then we repeat that, and then that's what we create. Instead, what we need to start saying, which you don't have to, of course, is I am the biggest and greatest lead magnet. And who I am is attracting the people that need my stuff the most. Even if I don't have it all, figured out, and all the tech and all the fanciest, smanciest things that Stu and James does, I'm my lead magnet. And every day, more and more people out there are tuning into me. We begin to tell that news story. So that's an important little caveat. But I want to go back to April 2019, the infamous Ghost Town webinar. What we tend to do when things happen, especially when they don't go our way, is we make a decision about those things. And usually it's a decision about what it means about us, what it means about our business, and what it means about the future of what it is that we want. So can you tell me, what is it that you made that mean when you did that first webinar and no one showed up?
The comments that I got in the Facebook group for BBD was that, well, you were focusing on small talk and introverts don't like small talk. I'm like, that's BS. You have to learn it. For my niche, you need to know how to start a conversation. You're a business person. And I think that the comments were hurtful. I'm a sensitive person.
Well, but that doesn't, that's totally, okay. I want to hear the answer to the question though. So when you looked and you realized no one showed up on your webinar, what did you make that mean?
I made that mean that for all of the effort that I put into it, and I was fastidious, I would say for 2 months, 6 weeks, I followed your plan in BBD. Whatever that timeline was, I did everything. Yeah. I made that mean that I didn't get something for all of that effort.
Yeah.
What is this? I'm not new to business, but this is not working for me.
Yeah. Great. So This is what happens, guys, and this is really important. We go out, we do something brand new that we've never done before in a completely different world that you could say you have years of business, but I know people that have been lawyers for 20 years and they go and do this, and it's unlike anything they ever did in their law practice. People that have had brick and mortars, and it's anything unlike it. And that's the first thing we have to understand, that this is unlike anything. If you haven't done it before, it's unlike anything you've ever done. It's completely backwards. I talk about it in BBD. It's unlike anything that you've ever done. And so what happens is that we say we're going to do these things, and we have these goals. And these goals start to become expectations. And you guys got to know, not just Susan, all of us here, that expectations are going to get you guys in trouble, right? We start creating all these expectations in our life for things that exist outside of ourselves, outside of things that we have control over. And then what's going to happen? What will be the experience of our life? We're disappointed constantly. And so something happens. Something happens that was within your control, which was your actions. I'm going to do this webinar, and you did that. And we could focus on that. We could choose to say, I did my first effing webinar, and that in itself is a win. But what happens is then it doesn't match up with our expectations. It's something that was unwanted. I mean, no one here wants to do a webinar and no one shows up. No one wants that experience, right? But then as soon as we get that experience of something unwanted, we start to tell ourselves a story about it. And then when we create that story, which, by the way, anybody else would create that same story. So it's not wrong or bad that you did that. We just have to recognize what it is. It's just a story. So the story of, I did all this effort and it wasn't worth it, we then start to project into our future. And then that becomes our reality, which is, doing any of this is too much work and it's not worth doing. So then we don't do it. And now we know why we haven't tried again. And at any moment, it's our stories in our head that's creating our experience externally. Unfortunately, for most people, it's the external that creates the story. That's why we stay stuck and we repeat the same thing. Is this making sense, Susan?
It is, and I listen to you all the time. And obviously I haven't moved past, even though I think I have.
Yeah.
I'm a master of my thoughts and all of that stuff.
Would you like to move past that? Because we can just put that down at any time.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we can agree on some facts.
I know that I have some major blockage that I'm not seeing.
Great. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hold on just a second. Okay, so we can agree on some facts. The facts is that in April, and I really want to help you, right?
Mm-hmm, I know.
And that I'm a bit of a coach that loves to push people. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So I push with love because I want to help you. Like, I don't want you to stay where you are. I want you to keep growing and keep. Yes. Okay, great. So we can agree on some facts. And the first fact that we can agree on is that in April of 2019, you did a webinar and no one showed up, right?
Yes.
We agree on that. Okay. Now, what I won't agree with is just that you had one. I mean, you can agree that you had an interpretation of that event, which was, I did all this effort, it wasn't worth it. Okay. So I won't agree with that. I will agree that that's one interpretation, but I'm not, as your coach and someone who cares for you, is going to say, yeah, that's true. All right. So I won't agree with that. But can we agree that that is an interpretation at least?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what would be another interpretation from the facts and events that transpired? In other words, what else could it mean that you did a webinar, your first webinar, and no one showed up?
It could mean that the main topic that I advertised was not the most important thing to whomever came across it.
Yeah, the topic didn't get people's attention. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the topic was off. Cool. What else could it mean?
That people are tired of webinars.
That people are tired of webinars. They don't want a webinar. Yeah, great. What else could it mean?
I attribute my failure to not knowing what the market wanted, not necessarily to my work.
Beautiful. I just didn't figure out what it is they want. I just don't know what they want yet. Or I'm going to add another one here, okay?
Mhm.
Or, and it's similar to the first one, I didn't use the right words to communicate it, right? I didn't communicate it effectively.
That's what I was going to say. Just wasn't the right hook.
Just wasn't the right hook. Okay. Now this is where it's going to get to really continue to get a little bit more challenging. Hook, story, lesson, call to action. There you go. And does anybody master marketing overnight? No. So look, this is where it's going to get, I'm going to really ask for you to be open with me, because here's where it starts to get really a little challenging. I'm going to ask for another one. Okay. We're at 4 right now, and I'm going to see if we can get to 7, because it's at about right here where we're kind of busting through our own, box, and we want to think beyond that. What else could it mean that no one attended your first webinar?
My energy.
Okay, great. And what about your energy?
Maybe I was not, I didn't draw people in.
Okay, good.
Either, I'm not sure if I did anything live, but it could have just been my words, whatever I just didn't resonate. I was not their person.
Or you weren't showing up the way that they needed you to show up. It's not that you aren't their person, but yeah. Okay, great.
Those same words.
Cool. What else could it mean?
What it meant that they didn't show up, that they didn't register?
Well, the fact is you did your first webinar and no one showed up. What interpretation could we put on that event? It's hard, isn't it?
It is. And I have never forgotten about this webinar. I think about it every day.
I'm actually going to say that you have forgotten about the webinar, but you haven't forgotten about the story.
Okay. True. Because the webinar didn't actually happen. I just, I think my tone was pushy.
Maybe. Okay. Hey, maybe. Pushy tone. Okay. Now, what I'm not asking for, of course, is to say, I'm not asking for why didn't you get anybody? You notice that I never asked that, right? Okay. So what I'm just saying is, what's the meaning that we could put on this first webinar that no one attended?
What I could put on it is that I am not suited for this, but I have not.
But that's a meaning. So let's put it down. Yeah, that I'm not.
But I am in BVD.
But I'm not suited for this. That's a meaning. Now I'm going to give you a couple more, okay? So you've given me 7. The topic was off. People are tired of webinars. I just don't know what they want yet. Maybe I didn't communicate it effectively. Maybe my energy was off, which is similar to the next one, which is like maybe I had a pushy tone. Maybe I'm not suited for this. Maybe another interpretation is, hey, this was my first one. The first one's always the worst one, and it's going to get better moving forward. Another one is, well, it's not all, a bunch of work for nothing, because at least now I have a completed slide deck and a bunch of content that might just need a little bit of tweaking, right? So there's a lot that we could add here, right? So I just added 2 more. So there's 9 interpretations. Now I can read through them again, but then the next question is so which one's the right one? Do you need me to read through them again?
I think I didn't resonate with people.
Okay, I didn't resonate with people. That's the right one?
Yes.
False. Susan, there is no right one. Because the fact that you did a webinar or showed up for a webinar that didn't happen and no one showed up in April 2019 doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. There is, Susan, you will be free from this first webinar. The fact is you did it, and that's all we should be focusing on. But doing this webinar, no one's showing up, means nothing. Nothing means anything except for the meaning that we choose to give it. And so as you shared with me, I've been thinking about this webinar for the last year. You weren't thinking about the webinar. You were thinking about the meaning you gave it. You were thinking about the story that came after it. The only reason our past can still exist today is because we choose to create a story and put it in front of us day by day. But the reality is it's done. It's in the past. You can't see it. You can't point to it. It's not there. It's gone. All it gave you was more experience. It gave us the facts. It informed us that you did it. You did your first one. And the first one's never going to be a home run. It's never going to be the best one. And it's always up from there. And it's really, we know this conceptually. What happens if at first you don't succeed? Try again, right? We know these things. But so many of us, when we don't succeed right away, we start to tell ourselves a story. And some of these are some pretty harsh stories that we tell ourselves. We beat ourselves up a lot. And then we quit, then we stop because we don't want to hear ourselves tell that story again.
Well, I think that it's also being surrounded by people that say, "Oh, I had 700 people, and that was my second one." And
no, that's your, Susan, I get that, but here's the thing: would you be happier if everyone you were surrounded with was a complete failure?
No.
Exactly. It's our story about them being successful that hurts us. It's not being surrounded around people that you're 1 or 2 degrees separated from. That would be an issue. It's what we tell ourselves, and it's not your fault. We all beat ourselves up so bad. We start to say, what is it that they figured out that I don't? What's wrong with me? Why them and not me? That's what's hurting us. That's what's discouraging us. It's not discouraging that someone else is getting results, because in a moment we could change that to say, holy cow, I'm in the right room because success is contagious. I got to hang out with that person a little bit more. I got to connect with them. I got to be friends with that person, right? And there's no accident, Susan, that you and I had a call yesterday and you're having a call with me today. And so those are the things for you to be looking at as to be grateful for. It's like, okay, I'm in both of these communities, and then I happen to get picked on a call with James where there was 120, 130 people on, and here I am today. And maybe that's happening for a reason, right? Because it's time to let go of some of these stories, dust ourselves off, and do this again. And do it again and again and again. Maybe next time 2 people show up, so fucking what? Do it again for 4 people. Do it until there's hundreds on there, and don't give up. Because that's what I had to do.
And Susan, I'm going to chime in here, and I'm going to share something with you that emphasizes this point. So much of what James talks about, and this is why I love him, for the way in which he shows up in the community, the way in which he shows up in the world, and the way he shows up for me as a friend, is that so much of success in business has very little to do with the tactics and the strategies, but very much to do with how we interpret what is happening all around us. And I'm going to show you something. I was digging through some old hard drives the other day. I got a new computer, so I was like backing things up. And so I was looking at old hard drives, and I found a whole bunch of logos of businesses that I had launched during my early career, like a whole bunch, like Kibosh Events. This was an event company that I did in Toronto where we held events. My first product, Creativity Secrets. You've never heard of it because, well, it barely sold.
What about pumpkin carving secrets?
Oh, just wait. Hang on. Oh, it's this way. Sorry. So then there's another events company that I had called Catalyst Personal Development. You've never heard of it because, well, it was so far. I had another software company called Rhino Support. My wife, we had a product called TEFL Secrets because she taught English as a second language. Wow. Road trip seminars. Yeah, you never heard of these. Orderfoodontheweb.com. This was a legit company. I was just ahead of my time back then. My teleconference center. This is called Leading Edge Web Tools. It looks like a swastika. That's why I never took off. Instant audio products. This was a legit service that we had going. We did edited audio products. Instant business answers. There's ideas for Halloween.
There it is.
GiveGiftsOnline.com.
Oh my gosh.
Don'tGoYet.com. This is the cheesiest one of all. Concept to Cash. Oh my gosh. And I'm sharing this with you, Susan, because look at how many those are all legit businesses. I had logos created. I had, businesses, bank accounts created. And I'm sharing this with you because so often it's so easy to interpret that experience of nobody showing up to a webinar, turn it into a story, just like James is talking about, that forever holds us back from being able to let go and just move forward. And I'm telling you, like, I have had my fair share of failures over and over and over and over and over again. But I will tell you that the story that I kept telling myself, and I don't know if it's a story that would be helpful for you, but one that has certainly been helpful for me, is that every step forward that I took, whether it worked or didn't, it was an experiment. It was an experiment that was giving me information that enabled me to move forward. As our good friend Susan Garrett says, we either win or we learn. We either win or we learn. And all of those businesses, they all bombed, Susan. I barely made any money. I made my first sale with my ideas for Halloween, $7.95. That was a big moment for me.
It was his brother-in-law.
Yeah, I heard that on your podcast. I think
after that, I made a few dollars here, but it felt like a boulder pushing up a hill. And I'm sharing it with you because all along the way, I knew I was just getting another little step closer. And this is all you did. You just got a little step closer. You figured out like that the message wasn't working or whatever it was, however we want to analyze it. But don't, as James has said, be careful how you interpret that so that it doesn't become a story that you forever hold on to and forever prevents you from being able to move forward. Yeah. And I want you to look for evidence of those of us who have done many webinars when nobody showed up, nobody's registered, but we kept on keeping on because it gave us the insights that, okay, that doesn't work. It's just an experiment.
That's the only reason we're here is because we kept on keeping on. That's the only reason why we are here is because we kept on keeping on. And that's the most important thing. I want to end with this, if that's okay, Stu.
Yep.
Susan, tell us one more time in one sentence, who do you help? How do you help them?
I help shy and introverted professional women and business owners to overcome their timidity and to just get over themselves and get on stage and do everything that they see other people doing that they think that they're not capable of.
Let me ask you, just getting real with me, why do you do that? Why do you choose them and why do you choose to help them that way?
I went to BBD Live with a tuna sandwich from Boston because I planned to sit in my car and eat lunch. That's who I've been my entire life. I'm still trying to get over myself, but there are certain things that I know how to do very well because I was that person who was at the top of my field, but I could not speak up in a meeting. I mentioned to you last night, I walked out of Fenway Park when I was called to a stage because I was just too in my head because of extreme shyness and introversion. So I understand.
In other words, you know how bad it can be. You know how much it can affect your life.
Yes.
You want to help other people with that. You know that I grew up very shy and introverted, right?
I heard your story.
Yeah. And do you know why? I didn't realize it until later. Do you know why I taught video? I was teaching online video for years, right? You know why I was doing that? I didn't realize it. I didn't connect the dots until later because I was helping people what I had to help myself with, which was to be seen. Because my whole life I was the invisible person. And so through video, I could help other people. And that's what we're here to do, right? Yeah. We've talked about Dharma before, which is just this truth that you're here for a reason. Mm-hmm. Part of it is figure out what that reason is. And you've done that. That's a huge milestone.
I truly feel that.
Yes. And that's why I'm asking that question, because I felt that. And I wanted to hear you say that the answer, why do you do that, is because this is what I'm here to do. Because I went through it myself. And now it's time for me to help other people do that. And I just promise you this. I promise you this more than anything. The more you continue living, embodying, and demonstrating you getting over yourself, the more you're going to attract people that are ready to do the same. This failed webinar is your opportunity to show the world that you're ready to give your gift away. But it's what you do from this moment forward. I'm going to let that story that it was not worth it and I shouldn't do it, and whatever people were saying in the Facebook group about small talk and blah, 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 that's you going into the old Susan versus stepping into the new Susan. And it's the new Susan that we don't teach by our words, ladies and gentlemen. You teach by who you are embodying. Stu's kids don't listen to a word that guy says, but they definitely pay attention to how he shows up as a parent every single day, which is why his kids are so amazing, right? So you see what I did there, Stu? I went right back to a compliment. So, but it's so true, right? And they will learn by who you are and what you stand for. And yes, the energy and the frequency that you emit. And this is the opportunity to crank that up a notch. Does this make sense?
I'm listening to every single word intently, as I always do. That's why I've chosen both of you. It was not a mistake. I'm here intentionally, and this is going to work for me. And I thank you both very much, and everybody in the group, for their patience.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Susan. And I will just say this. Jennifer just made a great point. I think it's awesome. It's a fantastic story. I did my first webinar and nobody showed up. And that is one of the ways in which you are going to be able to connect with your audience. All right. Oh, see, I just knocked that and dog crazy. Okay. All right. So with that, thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate you.
Thank you both so much. Thank you all.
Hey, buddy. James, buddy, I know we both got to jet out of here. Thank you so much for the way in which you show up. I appreciate you. And what a great afternoon coaching a number of entrepreneurs. It was fun, wasn't it?
That was such a blast. What a great way to end it, too. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, buddy. I do want to mention you have actually, you know what? I'll wrap that up afterwards. Okay. I know you got to go. I got to go.
Okay.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon. See ya.
Everybody.
Okay. All right. So with that, gang, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Again, I want to recommend you come and continue to join us here. Also, James has a great new series coming down the pipeline real soon. Go to bbdvideos.com. That's coming up in the next several weeks. So make sure you go to bbdvideos.com. This is what James does. He helps entrepreneurs perform at the highest level. So with that, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.